And go over the study guide in the 7th grade advanced class. We got write 0.6 as a fraction. 0.6 is a fraction. By 0.6, remember, I take the line or the dot, turn it into a line, put a 0 underneath each number, and put a 1 in front. That's going to equal 6 over 10. Now we know we can divide both the top and the bottom by 2. And that's going to give us 3 over 5. So my answer is going to be 3 over 5. That's C. Let's go to number 2. Which number is a rational number? Remember, rational numbers are numbers I can't write. Well, the first one I can definitely write because negative 0.27 is a number. It's a rational number. C is a number that I can write because 3 over 5 is really 3 divided by 5. And 3 divided by 5 is going to give us 0.6. And guess what? We already said 0.6 equaled, well, 3 over 5, right? And even if we left, I'm sorry, that was the first number over here, 0.6 was 3 over 5. That's still a number I can write. The last one, D, is square root of 49. And I know 7 times 7 is 49. But the square root of 10 is not a number that I can write. In fact, when I try to do it, put a 10, and then use my square root sign, I get some weird number like this that goes on forever. So B is irrational. These are rational numbers. B is irrational. Let's see, number 3. What is the side length, S, of a square below? Well, if we're going to work this problem, I would say that if A, let's see, we got 144, right? 144. Okay. And we say that's going to be basically equal to, we're squaring this, right? M squared. So in order to find this, remember this is area. And when you're talking about a square, you're talking about side times side, right? And it did say this is a square. So that means some number of times itself will equal 144. I think everybody knows what the answer is, but the proper way to do it is in math is to get rid of the square and put the square root sign over 144. And that's going to be 12. And we can double check that. Fairly certain that I'm right about that. 144 square root is 12. All right. So number 4 says, what is an equivalent expression for 9 to the 5th power times 9 to the 12th power? And we said that if the base is the same, and it is, then this is really 9 to the 5 plus 12 power. And that's going to equal 9 to the 17th power. 9 to the 17th power. All right, number 5 says solve 6 to the 7th power times 3 to the 7th power. If the exponent's the same, but the bases are different, you're allowed to multiply the bases. So this is really 6 times 3 to the 7th power, which is going to equal 18 to the 7th power. C will be my answer. And I'm sorry, I forgot to put that this was D for 12 over here. Number 6 says solve this equation. If I'm going to solve this, and I'm just going to start over here, 4.5 times 1.5 plus x, that's going to equal 18. Well, 4.5 times 1.5, let's do that. 4.5 times 1.5 sorry, 1.25. That's going to equal 5.625. And then it's going to be plus, remember we multiply here and then we multiply here as well. So that's going to be 4.5x. That's got to equal 18. I've got to combine my like terms, whether I want to believe it or not. This is a like term with 18 because they don't have x at the end. So I'll be minusing 5.625 from both sides. Let's do 18 minus 5.625. That's going to equal 12.375. So we got 12.375 on this side. And that's going to equal 4.5x on this side. I'm going to divide away 4.5. When I take that 12.375 and divide it by 4.5, I get 2.75. So x is 2.75. $2.75. All right, number 7, Natalie budgets $176 for yoga training. She buys a yoga mat for $15 and spends $11 per day on yoga classes. Which inequality represents the number of days Natalie can take classes and stay within her budget? All right, first of all, remember, it's $15 and then $11 per day. So we know this is going to be 11x and then plus 15. So we need, or in this case, days, 11d plus 15. So over here we have 11d plus 15. We have 11d plus 15 here. But over here we have 15d plus 11. So we can cross these out right now because we know it's 11 days per yoga class. It's got to be 11d plus 15. It's one of these two. Now, Natalie budgets $176 for the training. She buys a yoga mat for 15 and spends this. Which inequality represents the number of days that she can take the class? In other words, everything has to be under $176. So for it to be saying that it's greater, that would be wrong. It has to be equal to or under. So B is going to be the correct one. It says which inequality represents the number of days Natalie can take the class. And yeah, definitely B. All right, let's go to number 8. Use the properties of inequality to find the value of x. Well, we've got negative 2x, and this is minus 7 is greater than negative 15. To solve this, I'll treat this like an equal sign. I know x has to be solved last. Letter is last, so I'll get rid of the negative 7 with a positive 7. Whatever I add to one side, I add to the other. Now I have negative 2x that comes down. And it's going to be greater than, well, 15 minus 8, or 15 minus 7 is 8. And remember, it's big number minus small number. Keep the sign of the big number. We're going to divide negative 2 away so I can get x by itself. But when I do that, I have to remember to turn my inequality symbol. Let's see, divide this away. I've got to turn my symbol around whenever I divide by a negative number. So a negative divided by a negative is a positive. 8 divided by 2 is 4. This has to be x equals 4. Or excuse me, x is less than 4 right here. Number 9 says solve the equation. There's a big one here. Let me give myself some room. We got 3 times x minus 5 we're going to take away 5x when we do that. That has to be equal to negative 25 plus 6x. All right, let's distribute properties first. We have to do that because PEMDAS must be done on each side before we do PEMDAS backwards. 3 times x is 3x. 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. And then we're going to minus 5x. Now it's got to equal negative 25 plus 6x. We know that we have like terms over here. 3x minus 5x is negative 2x. Now I have negative 2x minus 15 equals negative 25 plus 6x. Now remember, to make this easier, I want x to be positive, and the only way to do that is to move this over here. So I'm going to add 2x over here, which means I'll add 2x over here. This is going to be 6x plus 2x, that's 8x. You still have a negative 25 over here. And you have a negative 15 here. Now I'm going to go ahead and get my numbers on one side away from x. With just an inequality, let me make sure, nope, an equal sign. So I can add 25 to this side to get the numbers on the opposite side. So I'll add 25 here. Now 8x is on this side. And it's equal to negative 15 plus 25. That's going to be a positive 10. All right, so we're going to divide 8 away now. That's going to give me 1 and 2 over 8, which can be changed to 1 and 1 over 4. All right, no negatives at all there? No. So 1 and 1/4 is my answer. 1 and 1/4 seems to be A. Number 10 says, which linear equation represents the graph? When I look at this, I remember the last number is represented by my y-axis here. It's crossing through 2, most definitely. So I know it ends in 2, which means either C or D has to be the right answer. Now I'm going to go by my rise over run. Well, one thing that tells me what the answer is, my line's going down. And whenever my line's going down, just like when my day's going down, I feel very negative, right? So that means my slope has to be negative. My rate of change is negative. This is not negative. This is, so that means D has to be it. And it says it goes down 1 and over 2. Let's check that out. Down 1 and over 2. Absolutely. Down 1 and over 2 each time. D is absolutely the right answer. Number 10 says the graph shows the number of gallons of water in a large tank as it's being filled. The linear equation, 45 over 4x plus 45, represents the trend line. How long will it take to fill the tank with 400 gallons? Well, we could take that formula, 45 over 4x plus 45, and we can go ahead and put it equal to 400. When we do this, we're going to subtract 45 from both sides so we can combine those like terms. That's going to give us 45 over 4x is equal to, let's see, I'm going to go with 355. I'll double check my work. 400 minus 45 equals 355. Now, the trickier part. To get rid of 45 over 4, I have to multiply to the inverse. which is 4 over 45. Whatever I multiply to one side, I have to multiply to the other. I know this is going to cross out and leave me with x. That's not the problem. Problem is now I have to multiply 355 over 1 times 4 over 45. Nothing goes into 1 and 4, but I can't see that 355 will be divided by 45. And I think it will because they both end in 5, so at least 5 goes into it. So if I take 355 and divide it by 45, I wonder what I'll get. Ooh, that number is not going to work. So what I'm going to do is divide them both by 25 and see what happens. And I don't think that's going to work because 25 doesn't go either one of them. So now I'm just going to try 5. 355 divided by 5 is equal to 71. And 45 divided by 5 is 9. I'm going to take 9 times 4. I'm sorry, 71 times 4. And then I'm going to divide it by 9. Okay, remember this is gone now. So I'm going to divide it by 9. And that's going to give me 31.5 repeating. Wow. Okay. So let's see if that's even a possible answer. Says 30 minutes, 32, 34, 36. We're talking about 31.5. This is how long will it take to fill the water tank to 400 gallons. Wow. I kind of expected it to give me a cleaner number than that. The graph shows the number of gallons in water, of a water in a large tank that is being filled. How long will it take to fill the tank with 400 gallons of water? And they're talking about hours here. So I'm thinking it has to be 31 and a half hours, but it doesn't say that I'm averaging it out. I'm second guessing myself right now. Let me double check my work here. Well, first of all, I'm going to change this equal sign to show that this must be greater than or equal to this, right? Because we did say how long will it take to fill it. That means it must at least get to that, or it could be greater. And we came up with, and I'm just going to double check this, it was 31.5 repeating, right? So we said it had to be this way. I didn't see a negative sign to change my sign around, which means it has to be bigger than 31. So I'm going to go with B, has to be 32 minutes. All right, number 11 says, what percent of right-handed people surveyed have artistic ability? Well, first we're going to go to the right-handed people, okay? And it says, of these right-handed people surveyed have artistic ability. Artistic means yes, which means we're talking 15 out of 92, right? And that it was because it said of these people, right? Not of all people, just of these people, how many have artistic ability. So that would be 15 over 92, because there's 92 total people, not 77. So now I got to take 15 and divide it by 92. That's going to give me about 16.3, something like that, right? So now I'm going to have to take the, let's see, 163. Got to take that decimal and move it over twice. It's going to give me about 16%, I think, right? Dominant hand. Let's see, what percent of right-handed people, right, have artistic ability? 15 out of 92 total people. So it said what percent? Well, 15 over 92 was listed here. I don't know why they asked me for the percent, but it looks like the fraction was good enough. Let's go ahead and move down to number 12. How many solutions do these systems of equations have? Remember, there's a number of ways to go ahead and find out which one of these are going to give it to you. First of all, you can see if any of them match to get rid of them, or any of them are already, if using subtraction, right? If any of these were the same, you could subtract it away. There's none of these y's and x's that are the same. But what I do see is I could take my x and multiply it to 2, right? And if I did that, then this would be equal to 8x plus 6y equals 8. And I'm sorry, equals, see, 6y equals 16. And I could rewrite this to show that this is 8x plus 6y is equal to 2. Here's the issue with it. We're going to have to subtract everything here. When we do, this is going to be a negative 8, right? 8x minus 8x is 0. 6y minus 6y is 0. And then 16 minus 2 is 14. So 0 plus 0 is 0. Does 0 equal 14? No, it does not. So in essence, this is none. Now remember the rule, if the coefficient is different, you will automatically, you will automatically have 1, right? If the coefficient's the same and the number is the same, you'll have infinite. But if the coefficient's the same and your number is the same, that will give you infinite. But if it's not the same, it will be 0. That's what we got here. 0 equals 14. Let's see. We're looking for how many solutions to these systems of equations have. I guess we're looking for, I don't know where this is coming from. I'll have to check that really quick. It looks like I found the missing problem here, which fortunately means we've got two number 13s. I'm going to have to double check your finals now. But let's solve this system of equations. When I solve this, I'm going to put it over here to give me some room. We got 2y minus 5x equals negative 2. We also have 3y plus 2x equals 35. We need to go ahead and make something the same, okay? The x's or the y's. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little both. I'm going to change this by multiplying it to 3. I'm going to change all this by multiplying it to 2. All right. When I do this, my first set is going to become, wish I gave myself a little more room now. Let's see. I think I'm just going to rewrite it here. And I'm going to put 3 over here, 2 over here, so you can see where I'm going with it. All right, so 3 times 2y will be 6y. 3 times negative 5x will be negative 15x. And 3 times negative 2 will be negative 6. All right, over here, 2 times 3y will be 6y. 2 times 2x, that's going to be 4x. And 2 times 35 That's going to be 70. Now I can combine these by subtracting. 6y minus 6y is 0, so I got rid of my y's. Negative 15 plus 4 is going to be negative 11x. And 70 minus 6 is going to be 64, I believe. Let's see here. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, negative 6 and positive 70, 64. So let's see. Did I do everything right? Seems like I did. Part of me just feeling like there's something a little off. Let me double check. Ah, that's it. I realized that I was negative 15x minus 4x. Sorry, I had to look at that really good. And I realize now that's going to be a negative. Let me see here. And this is going to be the same way. Got to remember when you make this a negative, it's negative 6y, negative 4x. That's going to be a negative 19x. And this is going to be negative. So this is a negative 76. Whew. All right, that's a little better. And now I got to divide this by 19, negative 19, which means I'll divide this by negative 19. X is by itself. And what is negative divided by negative? Is a positive. What is 76 divided by 19? Well, 76 divided by 19, that's 4. So X is 4. I know now that either number 1 is it or number 3. The other two have negative 4, so that can't be right. Now we're going to plug X into one of these equations. So I'm just going to take the first one, 2y minus 5x equals negative 2. We know that x was 4, so this is going to be 2y. Negative 5 times 4 is negative 20. And equals negative 2. Now we're going to get y by itself by adding 20 to this side, which means we add 20 to this side. Now we have 2y, and that's going to be equal to, well, 20 minus 2 is 18. And now when we divide by 2, it's easy to see that y has to be 9. So y is going to equal 9, not negative 9. 3 has to be the right answer. All right, let's go to number 13. Which form of transformation is used in the graph? I can see here that this is not reflection, because if it was reflection, it would be over here, facing it perfectly at the same level. So that's not it. It's not dilation. It's the same exact height. Right? It's a scale, I should say, up 3 and over 3. Could it be rotation? Well, remember, this is on the line. So when it rotates here, it will be on the line here. It'll be 1, 2, 3, 4 away. 1, 2, 3, 4. Perfect. This will be 1 away. This will be 1 away. It looks to me like rotation is the best one. Translation wouldn't let me flip it. So rotation has to be the right answer. Number 14 says, what is M angle 1? All right, so they're saying, what is angle 1 here? And we remember that angle 1 has to be equal to the two angles that are opposite, 26 and 90, right? Because if this line represents 180 and all the angles equal 180, then this missing number here is going to be the same as these two sums, right? So let's see, if we take 90 and we add 26, that's going to be a 6 and 11, 116, right? So if these equal 116, that has to be 116. All right, let's go to 15. It says on a map, 1 inch equals 7.2 miles. So we could say that 1 inch is equal to 7.2 miles. two houses are 1.5 inches apart from the map. Okay, so if I'm looking at this, we're just going to say there's a house here and a house here, right? And they on this map are 1.5 inches away. What is the actual distance? Well, if it's 1.5 inches, I could put 1.5 at the top here, and I'm looking for how many miles it's apart. This is cross multiplication. We can take 1 times x, which is going to give us x. It's got to be equal to 7.2 times 1.5. Anything times x is itself. Anything times 1 is itself, excuse me. Now 7.2 times 1.5 is going to equal 10.8. So the right answer has to be C. Number 16, use Pythagorean theorem to find the hypotenuse. Remember, Pythagorean theorem says that a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. Well, a squared has to, let's see, that's going to be 10 squared, and that's 100. Added to b squared, which was 24 squared. And 24 squared is going to give us, well, 24 squared, 576. Now this is going to equal to 676. 100 times anything is just 100 more. Remember, to get rid of that square, we have to find the square root of 676. So let's look over here. We're going to say 676 square root is 26. So the answer has to be B. All right, number 17 says the circumference of a circle is 50.2. All right. What is the area of the circle? We want to know the area of the circle. Use 3.14 for pi. Well, remember, the formula for area is pi r squared. And they're saying the circumference is 50.24. So I could say circumference, which we know is equal to 2 radiuses times pi, right? Or 2 pi r. I'm going to keep it as 2 radiuses times pi because I think it's a little less confusing for some people. And if the circumference is 50.24, and remember, this is 2, well, I could swap r and pi, put pi and r over here. Remember, I'm looking for the radius, so I can say that 2 radiuses, right, are going to be 6.28, or 2 pi, excuse me, 6.28 r now, equals 50.25. Well, I now have to divide 6.28 away to get r by itself. And whatever I divide from one side, I divide from the other. So this gives me 50.25 divided by 6.28. That's going to give me, wow, radius is going to be about 8. Let me just see here. 8.00. I mean, it's really about 8, right? If I took that radius now, remember, I have to find the area. I'm going to have to square it. So I can take this radius, and then I can square it, okay? And then I have to multiply that to, I squared it, now multiply it to 3.14 times 3.14. That's going to equal about 201.04, okay? 201.04 4. Let's see if there's any number like that. 200, look right over here. I think they rounded up and put it to 8, and I'm just going to check if that's so. I think that that's probably what happened there. It probably said this is really close to 8. And 8 squared is 64. Now I'm going to take 64 and multiply it to 3.14 and see if we come closer to that number. 64 times 3.14 is equal to, look at that, 200.96 square meters. So D is the right answer. 18 says find the surface area of the triangular prism. Surface area of the whole prism. The base of the prism is an isosceles triangle, which means that this side is equal to this side. Now that I know that, let's find my triangles first. I know the formula for a triangle is base times height divided by 2. Since there's 2 triangles, here and here, I'm going to multiply this to 2, which means I'm really getting rid of this. Now I have just base times height. My base is 14. My height is 24. Remember, I don't go by the slant height. So now I've got 24 times 14. And really it was, I should have put that the other way around. Apologize for that. 14 was the base and 24 was the height. Don't want to confuse anybody. And if we multiply them together, 14 times 24, that gives us 336. All right, now I've got to find the rectangles. 2 of these rectangles are going to be the same. They're going to be 25 times 48. So 2 rectangles are going to be 25 times 48. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. We've got 8 times 25 times 2. That gives us 2,400. Now remember, there's one more rectangle here, and that's the one on the bottom. The bottom was 14 by 48. So there's one that's 14 times 48. Well, 14 times 48 is going to give us 672. So we'll add that on as well. Now it's time to add these up. 6 plus 2 is 8. 3 plus 7 is 10. Bring up the 1. 4 plus 6 is 10, plus 4 makes 14. And then when we bring one up, we got 3,408. So A has to be my right answer. Let's try number, looks like we jumped here from 18 to 21. I'm not quite sure what happened here. We're going to look at 21 here and then see exactly what happened. And then I'll come back to you. But I want to solve this one here. It says find the volume of the cylinder. The volume formula is volume equals big B times H. And I know that big B is the formula of a circle, pi r squared. Okay, then we're multiplying to H. I know what pi is 3.14. And I know the radius right here is 2. And I know the height is 6. I'm going to go with 2 times 6 is 12. And now I just got to take 12 and multiply it to 3.14. I know 3 times 12 is about 36. I imagine it's going to be close to that, but I'm wondering why these numbers aren't really fitting. And I'm going to have to check that out here. Because if I take 3.14 and multiply it to 12, I'm sorry, look at that. That was my mistake. Remember, it was squared. So I'm glad that I double checked that. So that's going to turn this to 3.14 times 4 times 6. 4 times 6 is 24. Now we're taking 3.14 times 24. Let me go ahead and try that. 3.14 times 24, that's equal to 236, 236. That's still not one of these answers here. 236.6, something like that. And I'm going to double check and see what's going on with these answers over here before we press on. I found a couple of errors there. One was in my calculator. I had 3.5 or 3.14 multiplied to itself twice. Let's check this again. Remember, we had 24 times 3.14. 24 times, oops, sorry, 24 times 3.14. And that's going to equal 75.36. 75.36. And the other error was this was not the list of answers on our book. This was, so 75.36 does fit right there. Should have been A. All right, sorry about that. It's getting tired. But now you understand exactly what to do. Find out what the radius is. Once you find out what the radius is, plug it in. Do your PEMDAS by exponents first, then multiply. Make sure you're not multiplying anything to itself that shouldn't be in your calculator. Well, that's all that I had, and it looks like now it's time to prep for the test. Have a good night.